gavel.
Nice, huh?
He's showing off.
Yeah. It's the only kind of hammer they let me use.
Did anybody bring the nuts for the all the way down the road?
Jillian will not be
Oh, okay.
on vacation.
Oh, good for her. Welcome, everybody. Tonight we do have a public hearing that we need to take care of before we get into the regular scheduled meeting. So this is a notice. This is a public hearing for the special assessment for public improvements in the city of Waupaca, Wisconsin. I do call this meeting to order. In attendance, we have council members. You want to take roll?
Sure.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Brian,
Want to do your job?
I'll do my job. Brian Smith.
Here.
Steve Hackett.
Here.
Deb Fensky. Here. Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keelan.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
John Lockwood.
Here.
Jillian Peterson. And Eric Olson.
Here.
9 present. We have a quorum.
Purpose of the hearing, if you are looking at your packet, I think it is on page 2, and I'll just read a little bit of it here. Please take notice that the government body of the city of Waupaca, Wisconsin has declared its intention to exercise its police power in accordance with subsection 66.0703 of the Wisconsin statutes to levy special assessments upon the following properties for benefits conferred upon the property by the improvement of installing replacement sidewalks and new curb and thereon. And you could see that the list of properties that are going to be repaired and what the estimated cost of those are. Sidewalks, and then there also is some curb and gutter too, which are going to go along, I'm assuming, John, with the Hillcrest project. So we are here tonight to find out if there's anybody that would like to talk to us about that. So if we have anybody that would like to give testimony in favor of these special assessments, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and limit your time to 3 minutes or less. Any testimony in favor of? If not, any testimony in opposition of this special assessments for public improvements in the city? Hearing none, I declare this meeting closed at 5:53 p.m. We will start the council meeting promptly at 6 o'clock, so we have about 7 minutes before we start.
I noticed right there in our public parking lot by kind of I walked up along the driving bank and it's like I don't know where the line is there. There's sidewalks there.
you going to start?
Yep.
Okay, you're
Whenever you're
on.
ready.
You're on.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our March 17, 2015 City Council meeting. I do call this meeting to order, and we'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask Sandy to read the clerk's open meeting statement.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And Sandy, would you also take roll for us?
Brian Smith,
Here.
Steve Hackett,
Here.
Deb Fensky,
Here.
Paul Hagan,
Here.
Alan Keeland,
Here.
Scott Prochatsky,
Here.
Dave Peterson,
Here.
Paul Mayo,
Here.
John Lockwood,
Here.
Jillian Peterson, Eric Olson,
Here.
9 present. We have a quorum.
Thanks, Sandy. Consent agenda. You have consent agenda in front of you. Are there any items that council would like to see moved from the consent agenda and put onto the regular agenda where we would vote on those items individually instead of as just one large vote? Any items that we'd like to see changed?
Move to accept the consent agenda?
Second?
Motion by Keelan, second by Lockwood, that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Regular agenda. We had just one distribution, and that was the Waupaca Eco Park project. Council members, you have that on your desk, or you should have that on your desk. Otherwise, everything else is as printed.
Make a motion, we accept the regular agenda with the addition of the Eco Park project.
Second.
Motion by Lockwood, second by Hackett, that we approve the regular agenda with that one addition. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Non-agenda items and announcements, public input. This is a time of the meeting where we ask anybody in the audience or even council members or staff if they would like to speak to us on a non-agenda item. Our ears are open, and just give us your name and address and step up to the podium for anything that you would like to say to us. Hearing none, we'll move on to department announcements and reports, and as always, we'll start with Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I just wanted to report that we're finishing up the audit, and I've been working on fine-tuning some of the reports that are going to be coming to the council and trying to understand what some of the fund balance and other balances make up. So I will have a report for the next meeting. We also will be bringing at the April 8th meeting the resolution for the state trust fund loan for the 2015 capital borrowing, as we have the majority of the 2015 projects already with firm dollars, so that we'll be able to make a presentation. Brian Riegel from R.W. Baird will be here that night to answer any questions if the council has any. Otherwise, that's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Kathy. Anybody have any questions or comments for Kathy? All right, let's move on to the library. Peg.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Tomorrow morning, the Waupaca Breakfast Rotary Club will be meeting at the library, and that's the first for them, so it should be pretty exciting. Our book festival is coming up next month. It is the 17th and 18th of April, and there'll be more information at the next council meeting. Information is available on the website. On April 14th, we're having a lunch and learn with author June Melby, who's written a book called My Family and Other Hazards, and it's about their experiences in owning the Tom Thumb golf course. And it's really a very well-written memoir. So that's April 14th. We hope you register through the library. Our film on the 2nd of April is The Hound of the Baskervilles, and we're kind of celebrating Sherlock Holmes that day. We have been tagging with the RFID tags our collection. We are making good progress with lots of volunteers who are working on that project. We are choosing paint and carpet for the capital improvements at the library, and our plan is in the final stages. We hope to be able to present that within the next couple of months. We have had 2 retirements announced at the library. They are part-time individuals who've been with us for 20, one of them for 20 years and one for 10 years. So we're going to be looking for some rearranging and possibly some new hires. Our annual report has been submitted, and John Ryan, President, will be here next month to present that to Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Peg. Any comments or questions for Peg in the library? Thank you very much, Peg. Brennan, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mayor. My report's in your packet, but I just wanted to highlight a couple things out of that report. Right now, a lot of my time and effort's been to get the downtown visioning presentation done and the plan done so that we can get that adopted and move on to the next phase. There's a couple items on here this evening, but as you'll start seeing within the next couple days, if anyone walked in the main lobby tonight, please join the conversation. The mobile office will be next week at the former Office Outfitters building. I appreciate the information and the individuals that so far have been trying to spread the word between the chamber and the newspaper. But there's also a couple important dates that are coming up here in April. There's a couple items on the agenda later this evening we'll talk about with grants, but as for the adoption of the visioning plan, we're looking to have a joint public hearing that evening. Is going to be held by the Plan Commission over at Farmer State Bank. Would like to invite not only the Downtown Visioning Committee, but also the council members to that meeting as well. It's pretty much going to be a full-fledged presentation of that plan that evening. Looking to have a special plan commission meeting on April 29th and then bring it to adoption for the council on May 5th. Again, looking mainly at if you guys can attend the April 15th meeting. I know it's outside of a regular council meeting that evening, but there'll be some valuable information. It's going to be an open house from 4 to 5:30, and then from the public hearing from about 5:30 to 7. Other than that, working on, as you can see on the construction for the Dollar Tree is moving along well along Fulton Street, and working on a couple other ordinance changes with the Plan Commission right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Brennan. Any questions, comments for Brennan? John, Director of Public Works.
Mayor, on St. Patrick's Day, I want to let everybody know I'm half Irish. I don't know which half is Irish, so that's the problem. So, good half or bad half. We've got a lot going on. We've had our annual safety training. We've got our annual hearing testing training coming up. We're going to be doing some work comp training, and working with Aaron and his staff to do our CPR first aid training, which is a 3-year, I believe. 2-year? Okay, 2-year certification, so we're up for that. We have a number of other items we're working on. As you know, the sewer use ordinance, we'll be hearing back on that hopefully in April. Tonight we'll be approving a contract for our capacity maintenance and operation manual, engineering services required by the DNR. The road program is up tonight for consideration as well. Curb and gutter and sidewalk assessment hearing, we're in the middle of that, and that's taken a little bit of work with some of the property owners to get to that point, meeting individually with them as well. We have a project at the treatment plant, a screw pump project that we're looking at some alternatives to put us in a little better situation and possibly save some money. And our staff and myself and a consultant have been putting our heads together on that. We finalized a water service lateral thaw procedure, which is how we thaw out water services. Last year we used our welder to thaw 100 services. We did have some this year, actually, this winter, that we had to thaw, but we now have written policy and procedure and steps on how to do that in a safe manner, and sign-off sheet by the property owner. We are out to bid right now on a wheel loader. We'll be getting that back the end of March and be awarding that, bringing it here for consideration in April. We conducted a thermal survey recently of our city facilities where we analyzed control panels and switches, motor controls. We actually take thermal images of them, and we identify heat loss, which identifies a weak link in the connection. either a bad cable or a bad connection. So that will allow us to make repairs before it actually fails. And we did that about 5, 6 years ago. We went through all the city facilities this time. We have another project at the treatment plant to save some energy and our aeration blowers, and we'll be working on that. Hopefully you'll be seeing something in April on that as well. Again, that would be a major power saver for us. Our private well permits are up. That's a 5-year permit for $40. Those are up now, and we'll be sending out notices. So either you'll be getting them or some of your constituents might be getting them. Again, this is a DNR required program that we administer private well, irrigation well permits. We have the property owner sample the water, and we inspect the situation so that it complies with DNR standards. So again, residents can drill a private well, use it for irrigation. They cannot connect it to their drinking water system at all. It is allowed. It is an alternative to using your potable water for irrigation. And again, but we do have to permit that. We have to administer that per the DNR, that program. We are working on a emerald ash borer management plan. We met today, and we'll be bringing forth again something in April regarding that. And we are working on our forestry ordinances related to our urban forest, trees, parkway trees, park trees, and such. So we'll be bringing forth again some recommendations and revisions in April on that. Mayor, I think we'll want to see if we can hold a recycling commission meeting in April too. So that'll be coming up. I'll be working with you on that. And last item is our water utility. We were able to get out our consumer confidence report, which is our annual report card. And once again, we got perfect straight A's. So that was distributed to a number of different locations per the DNR requirements, and we'll be submitting, we did publish in the paper, we'll be submitting that to the DNR, our report on that. That's all I had.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Anybody have any comments or questions for John? All right, let's move on to Parks and Rec. Aaron, the new dad.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. My report is on page 10 of the packet. I will not go over anything in there, as you guys have seen that, but I do want to touch base on a couple other things that are happening. Friends of Waupaca Parks recently met, and we're going to really try to start a recruiting effort to kind of regain some interest in that board. We have fantastic luck getting people to come out to events such as Fall-O-Rama, tournaments, fundraisers, and the community's been great in showing up to those things to help raise money. Now we're looking for about 9 board members that come to meetings quarterly and want to make decisions and sit in on those meetings. So we worked, Angie actually met with Angie yesterday, where there's going to be an article in the paper, and we're also going to try to drum up some interest for the River Ridge Trail Group, which folded into the Friends of Waupaca Parks. We want to make sure we don't lose sight of that. So if you know anyone that's interested, please contact me at any time. South Park, we're working on some lighting prices as well as shoreline restoration work, working with Bauer for the lighting and WPS, and then Stanchek out of Appleton. And Stanchek is working with one of our park board members as well, John Kinnear from Rettler, for some of the landscape architecture there. Let's see here. We have the home show this weekend at the rec center. That's going to be a big event for us. They're going to start setting up Thursday. It's going to go till Sunday, and then the job fair for the chamber was there today. I had some good traffic through there today. And then I just want to touch on a program that Andrew has started, our rec programmer. He started a beginner soccer program that's been very, very successful. It's being run at the WLC on Tuesdays after school, and he has 97 kids for a first-year program. That is fantastic. I think it's right up there with probably the most successful first-year program that we've had. So, so that's great to see. That's all I have.
Thanks, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron? All right, let's move on to the police. Chief Cook.
Thanks, Mayor. Just to highlight a couple issues.
Brett Rodens, who's been our PSLO, Police School Liaison Officer, who's been in the high school for 5 years now, has announced that he wants to go back on the road. So that's creating a new PSLO. We are looking internally first to fill that position. And right now, that's being reviewed by the school officials, and they will have the last say on whether they want to accept our internal candidate. If they don't, then we'll be utilizing an outside process, going for a statewide search for that position. And our goal is to have that at least identified and starting by July 1st of this year to start the next school year. Other than that, we have professional speaker Jim Schultz here to give our annual report later on, and the rest is information.
All right, thanks, Chief. Any questions, comments? Thank you. Henry?
Thanks, Mayor. Just a few items. Just a reminder that our spring election is Tuesday, April 7th, so please come out and vote. And because of that, we've moved our regular meeting to the following day, Wednesday, April 8th. So just a reminder on that. I did talk about this in my report, the job description study. You did authorize me to go out and get proposals. We solicited 7 firms, got 3 submissions, and department heads are working with me, and we eliminated 1 of the 3, so we're down to sort of 2, and we're evaluating those proposals, and would plan on bringing those forward next month for you to consider. And we finally got to go ahead to put in the PO for our new taxi vehicle. It's a rear accessible handicap van with a conversion lift. You authorized us staff to submit a grant, capital grant, and there was 2 vehicles in that grant, and this is the first vehicle. The state picks up 80% on the vehicle itself, and then 90% on the lift. So combined, we're at about $5,400 on a total cost of about $32,000 for the unit. So the capital grants are a really good way for us to keep our fleet up. Unfortunately, the van that we were going to replace got in an accident. So the timing couldn't have been better. It's a high mileage van. It's probably not worth fixing. So the state lets us keep the insurance check. And then we still will try to sell it for salvage or something. We hope to get maybe $1,000 out of it. It does run. It's just banged up really good. So that second vehicle, talking with Brown Cab, we're going to wait a few months and come back in the summer to give you a presentation on and get to go ahead, hopefully, to purchase that second vehicle this year yet. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Henry, any questions for Henry, comments? All right, let's move on to new business then. As Chief Koch has said, this is the annual report for the Waupaca Police Department, and we have Commissioner Jim Schultz here to make that presentation. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Do you need my name and address and things?
Please, if you would.
James Schultz, 1506 Foxfire Court, just 6 doors down from His Honor the Mayor in Waupaca,
Is that good
Wisconsin.
or bad? I don't know.
If I'd known about the introduction, I would have prepared better, too. Seriously, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Sandy, Henry, fellow citizens. It has been a very busy year for your Waupaca Police Department. The number of calls is over 9,000 for the last 5 years in a row. And I just did the math in my head. That's like 30 calls a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The FBI has a uniform crime reporting program. They started this in 1929 to collect information about serious crimes like murder and rape and robbery and burglary and arson. Last year, Waupaca saw a 32% increase in United Crime Reporting Program crimes. Now, that's the highest it's been in 5 years. For all I know, that's the highest it's ever been. November, most of you will recall, we had a rash of 10 burglaries and 4 thefts right downtown, over $5,000 in cash and property damage loss. Now, those cases were cleared. Charges are pending against the juveniles that were responsible. September, 2 armed robberies at local homes. Now, both of those houses were targeted because of drug activity going on in the house. Arrests were made. Some of you are old enough to remember when sneaking a cigarette behind the garage was about as serious as it got, and later on there were beer parties that were probably not very well advised, but they weren't really all that scary either. Somewhere along the line they became pot parties. But now it's heroin, cocaine. It is stolen prescription drugs, and it's every day. Last year, the City of Waupaca PD investigated 84 drug complaints that resulted in 138 adult arrests, 16 more juvenile arrests. Heroin has become just a huge problem in every community in America, and that includes Waupaca. Last year, we had a half a dozen arrests for delivery of heroin, 2 more for possession of heroin. We had a death as a result of heroin use. We had another heroin overdose that we had to deal with. Your police department works with area schools, the medical community, and the public to increase awareness, to educate and try to stem the rising tide of illicit drug use in your hometown. Your PD continues to be active in the Central Wisconsin Drug Task Force, which was developed among departments so that they could work together across multiple jurisdictions. There are 15 agencies throughout Central Wisconsin in one task force whose sole job is to formulate a plan to combat drug trafficking in your hometown. Waupaca PD is there. At the same time, we have a continuing program of community policing, which involves, well, you mentioned police school liaison officer Brett Rodens. He has integrated several drug and alcohol awareness programs in our schools. They start already at 5th grade and continue on through 7th and 8th grade. Sergeant Holzel has spent time with chamber businesses so that they could learn about counterfeit bills and security for local businesses. Now this month we have to come up with security for our roof. If you've read the paper, that's the latest thing we have to protect. I thought this was interesting. Sergeant Holzel also conducted a safety class for senior citizen pedestrians, how to dress and how to move safely around the city. Our officers donated their time and their money for a program called Shop with a Cop. If you're not familiar with it, Social Services recommends a number of kids. And police officers on their own time during the holidays take these kids shopping and pay so that these kids can buy gifts for their family. They're taken to dinner. They have a visit with Santa. They have a good experience with local police. Now, our budget last year, in case you have forgotten, was less than the budget for the preceding year. And they still managed to come in at almost $11,000 under budget. Waupaca PD has been getting the job done under budget for 5 out of the last 6 years. I think they've set a great example for fiscal responsibility. I think it demonstrates good stewardship of our citizens' investment in our community and our government. We hope that you'll recognize and appreciate the hard work and diligence by Chief Goke and his department. I'd like to thank you for your time and your attention, and if you have any questions, do your worst.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody have any questions or comments for Jim or the chief for that matter?
If I could just ask, typically we do a printed copy. Now, obviously because of cost savings and paper saving, we kind of just tried this year electronic version only. It would cost about between $200 and $300 to print up 25 of these reports, you know, color bound and hardcover. Do you see a need to have this printed, or are you okay with the electronic version? Electronic, okay? Because this is what we deal with. This is what we post on our website, on the city's website. So it's always, I mean, we go back 10 plus years, and that is how we prepare it. But we can do printed copies if need be.
Okay with that, Steve?
Absolutely.
Okay, just checking that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, yeah, that would be fine. Thank you.
And thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for coming tonight. Appreciate that, and you did a very nice job. We do need a motion to just accept this and this annual report and to place it on our on file.
So move.
Second?
Motion by Hackett, second by Lockwood, that the council accepts and places on file the Waupaca Police Department 2014 Annual Report as presented by Commissioner Jim Schultz. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Maybe we should say aye, huh? All right, let's move on then. Resolution number 1347. This is the preliminary resolution declaring intent to levy special assessment under the municipal police power pursuant to Wisconsin state statutes. John Edelbeck.
Well, I don't have as exciting of a topic as Mr. King here, but this is, we do this every year. We've gone through the process of public or special assessment hearing. We've identified through this resolution property owners, addresses, parcel numbers. We've followed the state statute on notification. We've created a report for estimated costs, and we do split the cost for sidewalk 50/50 with the property owners on the sidewalk maintenance. And on the curb and gutter assessment, that is for new curb and gutter, and that is 100% assessed to the property owner. We would need action tonight on this resolution, and then upon completion of the project, we would then look at resolution number 1348, which would be the final report, where the actual dollar amounts would be utilized for that assessment. So we need action on this resolution.
Okay, John, maybe you could just touch on how these properties got picked this year.
We go through different sections of the city, and you can see regionally, you know, the area, Churchill, Riverside Park. These are higher traffic area, traffic streets. We only have the budget to do a small portion of the city at any one time. So this is just the section that was chosen for this year.
Okay. So as John said, we'd be looking for a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion we approve resolution number 1347.
Second.
Motion by Hackett, second by Fensky, that we approve of resolutions number 1347, 2015. Any discussion? If
Mayor?
not, oh, I'm sorry.
Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
I'm gonna ask John, you discussed the curb and gutter with these folks on Hillcrest. Were they satisfied, or how did that go?
Well, yeah, I personally discussed with each of them in separate meetings, and they understand the process, they understand the purpose, and yeah, they are accepting of that. I don't know if they'll use a payment plan or they'll make that payment at one time or not. They will have that option. This fall, information will be sent to them through the clerk's office regarding that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, if not, Sandy will call the roll.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Deb Fensky,
Aye.
John Lockwood,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you, John. Okay, if we move on, then this was, the next item is a city planning item. This is a special use permit for Waupaca Sport and Cycle LLC, which is Quick Investments Incorporated. I'm sorry, Luke's not here tonight, but what's your name again? I'm sorry.
John.
John, okay. And your last name is?
Depker.
Depker, okay. So John is one of the partners in this venture, right? Okay. We'll let Brennan set this up for us, if we will.
Thank you, Mayor. The information is in your packet. The applicants are looking to open up a repair shop for motorcycles, ATVs, snowmobiles, small motorsports, and everything else in the former bait and tackle shop on Churchill Street. The property is currently zoned B1, and the reason for the special use permit is to allow this type of use within the B1 district. The B1 district is kind of limiting, as it's really intended for neighborhood businesses. The surrounding area is a little eclectic with some other B3, B5, and I1 type of uses around there, but predominantly surrounding that as well as residential. The Plan Commission did approve the special use permit last week at their Plan Commission, subject to the 6 conditions that you see underneath my recommendation. I believe that we have been working with the applicant. There was a couple of questions during the meeting and after meeting regarding some access issues and some requirements for building and state-approved plans. Because it is a change in use, it will require state-approved plans. Can't get away from that. And we have been working with the applicant regarding some access issues and the property to the north as well.
Okay. John, did you have any other comments that you'd like to say?
We had met with the fire inspector and everything. We have everything lined up and the wheels are turning to where we'll have everything we need within the next few weeks, as long as everything goes through.
Okay. And your planned date of opening, if everything goes according?
I think we had that set for April 15th. That might be pushed back a little bit later till towards the end of the month, around April 30th, say.
Okay. But as soon as possible?
As soon as possible, yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you, John. You can see that there are 6 recommendations which are on page 133 of your packet that Brennan is suggesting that we include, and city planning agreed with those recommendations when they brought this motion forward. So unless we have any further discussion by council or staff, we would be looking for a motion to accept this special use permit for Waupaca Sport and Cycle LLC.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Keelan, second by Lockwood, that we approve of this special use permit. Any discussion? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
Deb Fensky.
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
John Lockwood.
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
And Dave Peterson.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
All right. Good luck, John. Let's move on then. We have CMOM Program Engineering Service Agreement. John Edelbeck.
Okay, as I stated earlier, the Capacity Maintenance and Operation Manual for our sanitary sewer system is being required now with our new wastewater discharge permit from the DNR. And the completion date on this CMOM report is August of 2016. So like many other communities, we are in the process of trying to prepare that CMOM. We've solicited for engineering services assistance on this. This will be an operations manual for our wastewater collection system. So we solicited 6 firms. We did receive 5 proposals, and those are listed on page 152 in your packet. On 154, I also did an evaluation of those proposals, identifying staff hours. We did ask them to identify number of hours, hourly rates in their proposal, so we're able to do a little more in-depth analysis. And you can see the low bidder was Robert E. Lee, $21,700. I then did some analysis on dollars per engineering staff hours, total project cost divided by engineering hours, and total project cost divided by total hours on the proposal. And then I made a chart of their hourly rates for the different positions that would be working on this project. Back to page 152, staff, I met with Jeff Dyer and Roger Hansen, who will be working on the preparation of the CMOM, and our staff will be pretty actively involved with the consultant on this. And we are recommending Kempfer & Associates, and Kempfer is the second low bidder at $22,245. However, Kempfer has prepared several documents for us in the past that will greatly assist in the preparation of the CMOM. One is 1999 wastewater collection system plan, and this was a plan that looked at capacity in our existing main lines and identified how we would expand in areas beyond the city cost effectively. As areas developed outside the current city limits, what's the most cost effective way to sewer that so that we didn't inadvertently add lift stations that weren't needed. And then 2009, with the preparation or completion of one of our grant projects, safe drinking water, or clean water fund grant projects, we had to prepare what's called a collection system operation and maintenance manual. And that, I believe, was probably the precursor for what's now called the CMOM. The CMOM has a number of different bullet point guidelines and parameters that have to be addressed. And then on top of that, as part of the CMOM, you're required to review and analyze your sewer use ordinance, which we're already doing with Kemfer. So I believe that's really the best value to the city to contract with Kemfer. I don't envision actually that we're going to use the number of hours that are even being proposed here. And if we do, it might be in the areas more of GIS mapping or something of that nature, which again is part of the CMOM preparation as well. So my recommendation is, and our staff's recommendation is, to proceed with contracting with Kemfer and Associates for the CMOM engineering services agreement for an hourly rate not to as proposed, not to exceed $22,245.80.
Okay, you've heard John's recommendation. Hear a motion?
I'll move to accept.
Okay.
I'll second then.
All right. Motion by Mail, second by Peterson, that we approve of the CMOM Program Engineering Services Agreement between Camford and Associates and an amount not to exceed $22,245.80. Any discussion?
John, if we go with Kemper and we don't use all of the engineering hours or support staff hours, are they going to be billing us less?
Yes, as they have with our other contracts.
All right. So their total, their average per hour for the project is substantially less, so we may actually, in the end, be less than that 22,000.
I would anticipate we will. Like I said, the GIS computer mapping of our system, our current system is incomplete, and we might it might be advantageous to do some additional mapping with those hours. But yes, because that's part of one of the elements to complete your mapping. But that's the only thing I could see, but they will not exceed that amount. It could actually be less. All the reports that they have are electronic, and they'll be able to pull elements of that right into the CMOM, which will save time and money for us.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Deb Fensky.
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
And John Lockwood.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
All right, John, let's move on then to the 2015 street rehabilitation project.
Okay, we opened bids on Thursday, March 12th. Sealed bids were open. We had 3 bidders: American Asphalt, Northeast Asphalt, and MCC. And you can see on page 155 the bid results. We broke our project into 3 separate projects, 3 sections. Fulton Street, again, which is a grind and resurface of the section in front of Cherney and Kmart with joint repair performed by the city. Project B is the reconstruction of Hillcrest Drive with the new curb and gutter and some storm sewer improvements by the city. And Project C is South Park paving and with the restriping performed and widening, some of the widening performed also by city staff. Projects A and B are funded out of our street department capital account. We also have, as you can see below there, we were able to get a DOT LRIP, local road improvement grant of $20,000. And the funding for Project C is through 2 different grant projects that Aaron and Henry have been working on. And you can see that there's adequate funding left in that amount for this road parking lot paving, and I believe Aaron, again, as stated, was looking at some lighting and shoreland zoning or shoreland protection as well. The last item I guess I wanted to identify is depending on the outcome of the audit, there may be non-lapsing monies that Henry and Kathy might be able to identify that can go towards this road program. monies in that. There have been monies in the past utilized or identified for that. However, I don't know after the audit whether those would be available or not. So with that, I guess I would recommend to award the two contracts, or I'm sorry, one contract for American Asphalt in the amount of $360,867.59, identified through funding of the Street Capital, the LRIP grant, and the DNR stewardship and RTA grants.
Okay, so we'd be looking for an approval of the street rehabilitation project, which you can see on page 155, with a recommendation that we give the award to American Asphalt.
I would make that in the form of a motion to award this to American Asphalt to amount not to exceed $312,342.07.
No. No.
Sorry. 360. I'm looking at A and B. 368.67.59. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by Hagan, second by Lockwood, that we approve of this project. Any discussion? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
John Lockwood, Deb Fensky,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
and Scott Prochatsky.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thanks, John. Let's move on then. We have the cemetery superintendent job description change. Aaron.
Yes, thank you. The Park and Recreation Department is expecting Rick Martin, our cemetery superintendent, to retire at the end of May of this year. Rick's been with the city for 29 plus years as a full-time employee, and more than that, part-time. He worked some years part-time prior to that. Rick has been fantastic, and we will surely miss him. But having said that, we did kind of take this as an opportunity to look at his job description and what we could do to make it work and fit within our department a little better maybe than it currently does. When the facilities maintenance superintendent under the Public Works Department was created, some of the job duties of this job was taken under that position. So we wanted to be sure to remove some of those, which you'll see in the first job description included in your packet. The memo for this does start on page 156, and the job description is right behind that. Number 6, 7, 8, and 9 in that job description would all be removed because they have all fallen under the facilities maintenance superintendent. Another thing we looked at is having this position help more in the parks. We have Josh Peterson as our park supervisor or foreman, and he's kind of a one-man full-time crew. And then he also has a seasonal help in the summertime, but he does take care of 230 some acres of parks. And this, if we kind of float this guy, we feel like we can better cover things, especially when we have big projects like South Park this last summer when Josh was primarily at South Park. If he's reshingling a bathroom facility at Riverside like he will be this year for a week or so, you know, it'd be nice to have that extra supervisor for that seasonal staff. This person will also be primarily in the cemetery, so he'll take over Rick's current duties as far as working with the funeral homes, setting up funerals. He'll be on call on the weekends for weekend burials, things like that. We did discuss with John and some other people in the Public Works Department and looked at possibilities as having this person kind of have duties split up between Public Works and Park and Rec and try to get graves dug from other crew members. And ultimately we felt that keeping the administrative piece and all the digging and the communication with the funeral homes was going to be way more efficient if we kept that responsibility with one person, so we're not trying to communicate that through all separate departments. So some of the things that we did add is in your second job description here in the packet, and The title is the first thing that changed. The title would be moved to Parks and Cemetery Crewman. This person would report directly to the Parks Skilled Crewman / Foreman, which is Josh currently. Number 1 there under essential job functions, just kind of some of that alludes to some of the stuff that they'll be doing in the parks more than exclusively just the cemetery. One thing I did highlight in there is this person, we would want them to obtain a CDL license within 6 months of the start date. This would be because currently when Josh needs help with getting a load of dirt or a load of wood chips or something like that, we always have to rely on a Public Works Department member to do that, when it takes away from some of the things that they're doing. We also added a few minor things under other duties: carry a phone at all times, be available on the weekends. This would be a salaried position. And then on the back page, must demonstrate the ability to deal with grieving families, must work well with high school, college age young adults, as we have a lot of that in the summertime. I do want to kind of get into what we plan on doing and how we plan on replacing this position. Obviously, there's going to be some payout for Rick, having been here for 29 plus years. Right now, he's thinking he wants to take his payout of sick time over a monthly timeline to kind of pay for the insurance. And our thoughts and the best way we wanted to do it was, it'd be great to have somebody work with Rick for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or any amount of time, because Rick has primarily taken care of that cemetery for that 29 years, and there hasn't been a lot of other help with him up there. Obviously, because of how budget numbers work out, we can't hire someone at that wage right away to do that. So what we want to do is have somebody come in, be hired at a kind of a training wage starting at the beginning of May, work with Rick for the 3 weeks, and then have that person work at that same wage until that gap was filled. So that would mean we wouldn't be asking for any more in our operational budget. We would pay this person kind of like a park crew seasonal leader, and we would take care of it that way. Currently, if he does take that payout over the monthly time period, we're looking at sometime in August where that person would start the full-time hours, full-time benefits, and that full wage, which right now we're looking at being around 38,000. It's kind of a unique situation. There's not a lot of Parks and Rec departments that have this position, but we have called around. Shawano has something similar, and that's pretty comparable to what that person is paid in that department. Now, we are kind of working through some things with Tina. I've reached out to Henry, and we're trying to find out, and Rick's trying to find out the benefits and negatives of taking it as a lump sum and taking it over the monthly stipends. And Tina, I know, is out until Thursday, so if he changes his mind on that, we might have to go back to the drawing board on how we get that done to fill that gap. But I guess the main point is that we're looking to fill the position, have someone train for 3 weeks under that wage, and not increase the operational budget for this year. So that's just kind of our plan within our department. I guess that doesn't have to do with passing the job description necessarily, but I wanted to add that to make everyone aware of what we're doing. Good. So does anyone have any questions?
I'm a little concerned just over the title, crewman. It implies a gender bias.
Crew person, we could put.
Whatever's
We could do that.
other than crewman.
Sure.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, as Aaron said, he gave some additional information, but actually what he's looking for is an approval of the updated cemetery superintendent job description. A motion by Lockwood, second by Olson, that we approve of the changes in the job description for the cemetery superintendent.
To include crew person.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, Aaron, staying with you, this is to do with the Oz property. I'll let you just lead us through here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if you guys remember, a couple meetings ago, we had talked about the Oz Educational Center, the Oz Eco Park. I'd shown you some site maps, some plans, budget. At that time, that budget did not match up. It was about $31,000 off. We've went back to Cliff Morton at Cap Services, who's with us today. And we've met with him and other Cap Services employee, and he's submitted a budget that is about $1,059 off. Still not at zeros, but I think that I am comfortable moving forward with starting the construction on this educational center for one reason. And Cliff, I'm going to ask Cliff to talk a little bit about some of the components of the education center, as I did not touch on some of that in the last meeting. But the reason I'm comfortable is because I think putting it off anymore is going to delay it a whole nother year. We actually have an interview. Cliff has done a great job fundraising so far, has proved that he can raise money for this project. We have an interview in Appleton tomorrow at 4:45 for a $25,000 grant for this project as well. Obviously, that's not a guaranteed, but there's these efforts out there to raise money, and he's proven he's been able to do it, not only through grants, but through community support. The Foundry has committed money. Folks Brothers has helped out as well. And, you know, if it came down to it, we have donations, and we have money in Friends of the Parks, $1,000, and for a project like this, I would feel comfortable helping out from those venues, I guess. So I would be recommending that we give the approval to start construction on the educational center. Before we do anything, I guess I would ask that Cliff kind of stands up, introduces himself, and just talks about some of those educational components and maybe the budget a little bit.
Okay, do you need an address too?
Please, if
Sure.
you would, Cliff.
Cliff Morton, E8768 Cutoff Road, New London, Wisconsin. But I work at Cap Services, 101 Tower Road in Waupaca. I guess maybe a little history is in order, because part of what we do at Fresh Start is build houses for low-income family out in Eastgate. We are just finishing up our 6th house right now, and we'll break ground on our 7th house. And anybody's invited anytime to look at the quality of the construction. But that speaks to a primary educational component of Fresh Start in terms of training them for jobs and adding to their education in other ways. We help them finish HSCDs, diplomas, etc. And so with this Eco Park concept, we wanted to expand the scope of the education and involve our young people in the community in a service kind of atmosphere. We heard a few reports ago in terms of the police situation in the area, and the young people we get, a lot of them have had problems with the law. But our idea with this Eco Park is to develop a connection between these young people and the community in building the components, and so far it's really working a lot. Also on the other end of our building is Head Start, and they've expressed an interest from the beginning in terms of the educational components of the program at the Eco Park. Besides that, then, with the help of UW Extension, we went out and surveyed every school in the county, and I think you've got a chart somewhere in your handouts where we met with district superintendents and asked them what they would like to see, and then told them of the vision for the park. And so we have a whole bunch of commitments in terms of utilizing the educational center at Oz. And in fact, just 2 days ago, I got a call from Manawa, their summer school program. They want to send some people over to help, and that's also part of the idea in the educational center is to use a lot of volunteer help. Last year and help, and we had JCs out there working with our young people on the trails and stuff. So the educational opportunities that this eco park offers is something that's a reciprocal kind of situation. Yes, it helps Fresh Start young people, it helps Head Start, helps the school district, but then also it provides a resource to the community. It's really a gift to the city of Waupaca. Because when we came forth with the idea, it's almost 2 years ago now, and we started working with Brennan and Aaron. The idea was zero tax dollars used on this. We will find ways to raise the money, and we've come a long, long ways and have a whole series of commitments where we're close enough that we're very comfortable in starting with this. Any questions? I don't want to just keep rambling on here.
No, I think we're good, yeah. Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you very much, Cliff. I do want to point out another thing. You'll see in the memo that the Oz Committee did convene a while back, before the last time that I had presented on this, and they did have 4 contingencies before beginning or before approving the construction of the educational center. And I'm okay with those 4 contingencies, with maybe the exception of number 2, where rental is exclusive to groups that use the site for environmental sustainability. That portion of it. It also says educational, it also says no alcohol will be allowed at the facility. I'm fine with that portion of number 2. I just don't want to pigeonhole it and have it only available for, you know, these certain groups. If a Boy Scouts group wants to use it, I think for a meeting, I think that's great. If I guess my point is that I would like to see that decision be made by staff, and I think it'd be easier to treat that on a case-by-case basis. I agree that we don't want weddings necessarily, and that's not what this venue is going to be for. But I would just ask that would be determined by our staff.
So you're suggesting then, Aaron, that number 2 be changed, that it just says no alcohol will be allowed at the facility? Right?
Yes, I think that would work.
That would take care of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we would strike all the words before no, the last word in that sentence then. Okay, council? Questions? Motion?
You need to, going back to point 2, word something that says rental is based on approval from the Park and Rec or something, rather than just totally ignore it.
Well, all of our parks are under the discretion of our park staff, but we can certainly put that in there if you want it to be, Dave.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, Dave, I think that's a good question. I think maybe if we did say something, because it will be a little different than the rest of our parks. Maybe if we put something in there like that, it might make, you know, because I don't want to make the Oz Committee feel like we're just striking everything, because it still will be different. We'll still handle that shelter as a different rental space than the rest of our parks. Whether that needs to be in there or not, I guess it's whatever you guys feel comfortable with.
Okay, so if you want to, we could put in there that rental is based on the approval of the Parks and Rec director.
Sure.
And no alcohol will be allowed at the facility. You okay with that? Does that sound right? So, Aaron, you can make those changes?
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question about the on-site parking. If at some point in the future this becomes so successful that would want to be revisited?
We would absolutely do that.
Okay, it just seems a bit, because I know at one point they were going to expand the on-site parking.
You know, the idea of the Oz Park is to keep it natural and not disturb more than we have to. I think the committee thought that creating a big parking lot that we were going to limestone and gravel over before we knew if that was needed, they weren't comfortable with that. I've talked to John, as he's kind of our civil engineer and deals with parking lots more than I do. If he thought that that was feasible to keep it as is for now and visit off-site parking, especially for when those school buses and educational trips come. And we were comfortable with that.
And if you have a large group of people coming in with multiple vehicles, is it going to be parking along the road there, or how are you going to be handling that?
You can park on the street. I think that's something that will, if we have a rental and we know that there's going to be that traffic, I guess we'll work with that as it comes, but that's an option right now. It's not legal to park on that part of the street. On Constance Road there. It's something we'll probably, we will stay in touch with the town of Waupaca as well, since they have half of that road. And we have been to town of Waupaca meetings and talked to them as well as the resident, Mike Tennant, that's right next to the park there.
Okay. What's the current capacity of the lot?
Not many. There's not many parking stalls. I'd say you can fit probably, it'd be a guess, but you can fit 8 probably. And I would say we don't want people parking on the grass, but if you had grass parking and it was dry and not wet and it wouldn't rut it up, you could get more than that.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Before you act on this, as I recall, there was a lengthy memorandum that set forth lots and lots and lots of stuff that we have not talked about tonight. That memorandum was not approved because the budget was part of it. And my question is this going to be reduced to a written agreement approved by council, or are you going to approve this orally tonight and just let them fly with it? It did indicate, and I believe that was brought forward by CAP Services, the memorandum, that they were envisioning a written agreement for all the terms of what each party's responsibilities are.
Okay.
We don't have that tonight. It's not here.
The memorandum was thanks John, it was included in the last packet that I gave with some attachments. That memorandum basically outlined that all improvements would be maintained by CAP Services, paid for by CAP Services, we had a 10-year period of time in that memorandum. I did run it by John, and his question was, there was a statement in there that said this isn't a legally binding contract, and I guess his question was, what was the point of it at that time?
Which John are you talking about, John?
John
Hart?
Yeah.
Okay. So John, what are you suggesting?
Well, the memorandum was merely just a proposal to make sure that everybody was on board, and if they approved the memorandum, it was not legally binding, but it did presuppose there would be a legally binding contract drafted with those terms in it and then approved in the future. At least that's what a memorandum is for. I don't think you have that in front of you tonight.
Okay, so we would ask then, from recommendation by our city attorney, that Aaron, you work with our city attorney to get a contract in place so that we can maybe take this up at our next meeting?
Yeah, it will be ready for the next meeting.
Okay. All right, so we'll table this until we get this contract in place. Everybody okay with that?
I do have a question, I guess. Cliff, okay, our next meeting is April, what is that date? 8th. Cliff, the reason we did bring it forward here today is because I know there's a timeline as far as the cedar that's being used and the availability to strip that cedar. Do you want to, I guess I'm a little foggy on that. You can probably talk to that a little bit. And how does April 8th fit with that?
The SAP is running, and we've got about a month here because we have a donation of 40 acres of cedar that we have access to. But in order to get the logs in shape to use for the center, they have to not only be cut but the bark stripped off, and that window is going to close really fast. Just as like we had a quick thaw here and we had to move forward quickly getting a test section for the wetlands walkway out there. And so I guess the delay might be a little problematic in terms of then if we lose that window, well then it's pushed really a whole lot of months the other way. So if there was a way to indicate some level of commitment that we should at least be able to go ahead with that and get that done. I guess maybe some kind of compromise that might be a good thing from our part.
I guess, and I don't know if how I should ask this, Mayor, but it sounds like, for the most part, if that memorandum outlines what it did in the last packet, which was that the city would not be using any tax dollars, that all improvements would be paid for by CAP Services and maintained by CAP Services, that it seems like the council would be fairly in favor of that. So I guess Cliff is asking, they don't want to start that unless we're pretty sure that that's going to pass through upon getting that memorandum here and voting on that. I mean, I don't know if we can do it contingent on that, or I don't know how we do that. But
So we're talking about the trees being able to be cut and then used within the Oz property. That's what we're talking about. That's the one item that we need to talk about tonight.
yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
the trees being stripped, that will be, and I don't even know where they're coming from, Cliff, the cedar.
Or an hour north of here. But yeah, that's the essential problem, and without having a basic level of commitment and assurance, then that really holds us up on that. So a contingent vote, I don't know if that's a possibility, would be contingent on completion of the contract, if that's a possibility.
I guess this council, knowing the information that you have in front of you and that we're basically just formalizing the memorandum into a contract format, you feel comfortable giving Cliff the go-ahead and Aaron the go-ahead to move forward with this?
Yes.
Anybody that would feel uncomfortable with that? Okay.
CAP Services, Cliff, his supervisor, Mary Patoka, the director of CAP Services, has already all seen the memorandum and hasn't had a problem with it.
Okay. And you've seen it and you have no issues?
Correct.
It sounds like John just wants to make sure it gets in a formal contract to protect the city. There's no doubt, so.
Right, and that makes
I think
sense.
we're good there. So, all right, Cliff, if that helps. All right. And we will be taking this up at our April 8th meeting, which is fairly quickly. Okay, so again, this has been tabled. We're going to move on then to authorization to apply for a CDBG grant for the downtown master plan. This is Brennan.
Thank you, Mayor. My memo starts on 172. Where we're at right now, as you guys are aware, the downtown visioning plan is going to be done hopefully in May here, adopted by the council. The next phase of this is the creation of a downtown master plan. And there's 2 or 3 main components that are within there. One of them is a parking and utilization study. That's been one of the key issues and topics that's been discussed for several months regarding the different parking alternatives that we're proposing at this time. And another key component of this would be the 30% design plan and construction estimates that we're looking for in order to move on at a later date with the construction. But what also comes with the master plan would be other items that, again, the scope of the project hasn't been fully developed yet. Within my memo, you can see other elements that would be included within that scope, talking about different streetscape options, different potential building standards, some signage, and land use planning objectives. There might be some discussions on identification of maybe redevelopment opportunities within the downtown or surrounding area, possibility of looking at how this can reflect back on the river. But where we're at right now is within the 2015 budget, the city council allocated $50,000 towards the project. And we're here this evening seeking the authority or authorization to apply for 2 different grant opportunities. The total project scope for the next phase, the master plan, is roughly $80,000 to $100,000. We had intended all along to hopefully leverage some state and federal grant monies towards the next phase of this project. So what is in front of you is just authorization to apply for a community development investment grant. That is a state grant that is through WEDC, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. That's a 25% grant match. And then the other one is the Community Development Block Grant. If the council is aware, we previously talked about applying for this grant a couple months back. We originally were going to have to do a random survey of the community, but upon new information, we don't have to do that. Again, the good news is our LMI, or the LMI is, the bad news is that the LMI is higher than what we would appreciate to be. The good news is we didn't have to do the survey. The block grant is a 50-50 grant match, I believe, in here. So what we're seeking this evening is the authorization to apply for both of those grants. The resolution for the next one is one of the steps for the community development block grant, but the investment grant through WEDC is due April 17th, and the block grant is due May 22nd.
Okay, so if you approve this tonight, what you're doing is just approving the, allowing staff to apply for these grants. If we do receive these grants, they would have to come back to us and we would have to accept them at that time. So we're just allowing staff to apply for them at this time.
Make a motion to approve the application for the grant.
Second.
We have a motion by Lockwood, second by Hackett, that we approve of Steph Brennan applying for the CDIG grant and also the CDBG grant for the downtown master plan. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Next, we have resolution number 1349. This is a resolution adopting the citizen participation plan. Brennan?
Yes, we're on page 174. This is one of the first steps in applying for the Community Development Block Grant. We need a citizen participation plan. The city has done several of these in the past, and this is just one of the requirements to adopt this resolution this evening. There will be a couple resolutions that will be coming forth after the public hearing, and that's during my staff presentation. That's the key part of the April 15th meeting. It's kind of a joint twofold meeting. It's not only a presentation of the visioning plan, but also there's about 6 different agenda items that I need to also adhere to that evening, specifically talking about the community development block grant items on there as well. But again, this is just a resolution to accept this participation plan and start the process.
Okay. So we're looking for approval of resolution number 1349.
Move for approval. Second.
Second, motion by Olson, second by Lockwood, that we approve of resolution number 1349. This is a resolution adopting the citizen participation plan. Any discussion? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
Deb Fensky.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
John Lockwood.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
And Alan Keeland.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you, Brennan. I think you're up again a little bit later, but we have license report number 1267. This is for operator's license, unless there's been any issues or anything, we would be looking for an approval of that.
Move to approve license report number 1267.
Second.
A motion by Keelan, second by Lockwood, that we approve of the operator's license, or license report number 1267. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right, let's move on to unfinished business. We have the Bethany home payment in lieu of taxes, which we call the pilot agreement. Henry.
If you'll turn, excuse me, to page 180 of your packet, excuse me, 179. As the start of the memo, if you'll recall, back in January, we had a workshop, committee of the whole meeting. We discussed 2 items. One of them was the Bethany pilot payment. And I kind of shared with you the work that Brennan and I were doing on this. We had met with their executive director, and we were able to put together an agreement that, you know, compensates the city for the services provided and gets it at a level that Bethany, you know, can afford, quite frankly. Since this time, based on the feedback was positive on the 20th, Pauline, the executive director, went ahead and shared this with her board of directors, and they have approved this agreement. So it's before you tonight for your consideration. The high points are identified in the memo, but the bottom line, the pilot agreement will generate about $22,000 a year. This does kick in this year, and it will there'll be a pilot payment on the existing facility. Construction is anticipated to begin in a couple months. When the addition is completed, Bethany will provide appraisals, and the pilot payment will be set on those new appraisals. And it is estimated that that appraisal will come in at about, was it 22 million? I'm trying to get to the page here, I'm sorry. All right, or 24 million. The existing facility piece is 6 million, and that's what the pilot payment will be based on for the next couple years until the facility is completed. But the services involved in this are police, and we came up with a per capita number for there, because if you put the police budget of, Tim, it's 1.4 million, 1.5 million, the number just isn't a practical number for affordability. So there's about 187 persons will be their census when they're complete. And then we looked at fire service, EMS, street snow removal, and then a small emergency preparedness budget of about 3,400 we wrapped in there, for a total of about 374,000. And then we just we did the math based on the city's mill rate only. And again, this will generate about 22,000 when the project is completed. The existing facility this year will generate about $5,300 in pilot payments. Now, the other thing to know is that the project will have to pay a fire protection fee, and that fee is going to be about $10,000 based on a $24 million project. And this pilot payment is in addition to what is being charged on the Shadow Woods, the independent living project. Any questions on that?
What's your thoughts? Again, as Henry said, the Bethany board has approved this this pilot agreement, and we would just be looking to approve it so that we can move forward with this as the project begins and then when it completes. Understanding that this pilot program, and as Henry said this, is only for city tax purposes only. You know, they are a nonprofit organization, and nonprofits, they are not required to pay property taxes, but they are, in lieu of that, agreeing to pay a pilot program which will cover some of the city costs that are involved in it. It does not share these costs with any of the other taxing authorities. This would just be for city purposes only.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Hagan, second by Fensky, that we approve of the pilot agreement with Bethany Home. Any discussion? If not, Sandy will call the roll.
Deb Fensky.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
John Lockwood.
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
And Alan Keeland.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
As Henry has alluded to in the past a little bit, he's going to try to put together with staff help here some kind of template for pilot programs in the future that we would have, so that we are consistent with how we charge on nonprofits on projects that they'll do in the going forward. So expect to see that in the next few months. Okay, let's move on then to the special use permit. This is for Robin Matz and for Foundations for Living. And this is for, well, I'll let Brennan explain it to us. Brennan.
All right, we are on page 189. And what's in front of you this evening is special use permit to operate a warming shelter at their current facility down on Churchill Street. This project has been, I'll say, ongoing for about a year to get to this point where we are this evening. I have to commend Robin and her team on, I guess, taking the advice and moving this project along. They came to the city of Waupaca about a year ago proposing to do a warming shelter, and there was several concerns at the planning commission at that time, and along with the neighbors regarding, you know, the types of individuals that may be within this facility, hours of operation, and everything else. In a joint effort between, you know, my department and working with Robin and her foundation, they've gone back and actually really looked at addressing what the need is within the community. They've actually done their homework, gone out, worked with other agencies within not only this area but also Waupaca County to identify that there is a need for this warming shelter. I went to the city of Appleton. They have a similar facility, and spoke with their director over there about a year ago to get, you know, their operation manuals and the process that they went through, because it took about a couple years. Provided that information to Robin as well. And over the last couple of months, Robin has really been doing her homework and public outreach. She has gone back to meeting with all the neighbors that first originally voiced their opinions. She had an open house at their facility a couple of months back. There's also in here, there's several documents that they've actually put together on their team regarding their operation plans and their manuals of how they're actually going to work with people. And their intake forms. This was brought to the February Plan Commission meeting and was approved, subject to two things. One, identifying a memorandum of understanding with the city of Waupaca. And this memorandum of understanding is really that this facility and this approval is authorized for about 18 months. The facility is not going to be operational until October of this year, and then going through April of 2016. At that time, Foundations for Living will be required to come back to the Plan Commission and actually seek final approval. Right now, they have a provisional approval from the City Plan Commission meeting. We really just wanted to do a year review of their operation to see whether or not there's any complaints or any issues that may have come up with that. And then the second request, among other things, was to reach out to the City Police Department and Chief Gook to just have him review the operational plans. Both of those, the memorandum and Chief Gook's email back to Robin, are in your packet for consideration. But I would be looking to move this forward and seek approval for the special use permit this evening.
Okay, as Brennan has said, this was brought in front of city planning, and we do have a number of city planning members that are also councilmen that were there that night. We did discuss this, and we did recommend that we approve this provisional special use permit.
And just for the council's benefit, because there was a lag in the original public hearing notice that was done about a year ago, and then when they actually came back to Plan Commission, staff did send out the Plan Commission notice to everybody that was on that original public hearing notice that's required within 250 feet, just so they would have an opportunity to speak for or against it again at the Plan Commission in February.
I'll make a motion to approve the special use permit for Foundations for Living.
Second.
I'm just going to ask you to make sure you put the word provisional in front of that, because the special use permit is indefinite, but the provisional is just an 18-month period.
Correct.
Provisional.
Okay, you're okay with that?
Yep.
All right, we have a motion by Lockwood, second by Fensky, that we approve the issuance of the provisional special use permit for 18 months for Foundations for Living for a warming house at 1421 Churchill Street. Any discussion?
I'm a little confused by the 18 months because we're talking about reviewing it in April of next year, which is only 12 months. So I'm confused by that.
We were starting it based upon when we looked at the approval from February of this year. I believe we looked at originally a year approval from February to next February, but then they wanted to reach it out until April of that time, so that's why we were allowing up to 18 months. I was going 18 months from the February Plan Commission meeting.
Okay, you didn't say up to 18 months, so you're approving it for 18 months, period, but putting it, an April 2016 review in it. So that it just doesn't compute, right?
Okay, so he did say about 18 months when he was talking about it. The motion says 18 months, so if you're okay with about 18 months. I mean,
I'd be okay
she's
with-
going to be done, they're going to be done as a warming house next April.
Right.
Depending on the weather, and it won't be reopened again until October, November of 16, so there'll be some time frame in there. But I understand completely if we're doing the math here, it maybe doesn't work out, but again, the idea is that we're going to reevaluate this after the winter season of next year, whether that ends up to be in April or it ends up to be in May, that's when we're going to do it. Okay? So, are we all right with that? I'm sorry. Ellen, are you okay?
Yeah. I just don't like the wording. I'd like to be more precise on it, but
Do you want to do it
to move
instead of
forward.
18 months? You want it to do...
Well, we've already said we're going to review it in April.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of it right now.
Okay.
And so I think 18 months it should be taken out of it, taken out of the motion,
Okay, so
and just establish April 2016 as the deadline for provisional review.
Okay. Okay,
That
so
would be-
the provisional special use permit, if you're listening to if I'm listening to what you're saying is, would go through April 30th of 2016, and we will review that during April to see if we'll extend that as a regular special use permit.
Yes.
That's how you would rather see the wording.
Yes, that's what
Are you
I'd
okay
rather
with
see.
that?
I'm okay with
John and Deb?
Yep.
Okay.
You okay with that, Rob?
Steve,
My question is, they say the duration from 9 p.m. until 7:30 a.m. And it doesn't go into any detail about what would happen if there's a snowstorm, the temperature's 20 to 35 below zero. It gives a definite time, 9 p.m. until 7:30 a.m. When you have unusual circumstances, it doesn't say anything about that in here. And that's going to occur, I'm afraid. So then they're not going to be able to stand by what they've said in this.
Robin, do you want to address that, please? Just give your name and address for the record, please.
Robin Matson and 4825 Highway Q, Waupaca.
Because this warming center is part of our office building, if there's circumstances that would require that to be open, there will be staff there at the office as a part of our office building. That our office would be open. Does that make sense?
Kind of does, but then in other words, what you're saying is this 7:30 wouldn't really be a cutoff. It would be, they would just be in the office from them, if
Well,
it's that bad.
You know, I don't know how we would word it to include those provisions in there if something should happen. The 7:30 cutoff is so that, because our office opens at 8 o'clock. So the 7:30 cutoff would be so that the people can get out and then we can get it cleaned up before the office opens again. If something should happen, that section is, there's 3 sections in that building, so that section could be cut, you know, separate from everything else. I'm not sure how it should be worded, and if that would be.
I'm not sure either, but I just don't want you to get stuck in the middle and
Right, I hear,
have to
yeah.
do something that you don't want to do.
So let me ask the question then, if we have it set that it's at 7:30, their closing time is at 7:30, if something like that happens, would we be doing something, I mean, how would that happen if we kept them there? What would happen then? What would be the,
That's kind of why I'm asking.
yeah, and I'm not sure. You know, from my perspective, from if we can't get out, we can't get out. You know, we're not going to send somebody out there if there's a 20, and we're not going to send our volunteers out either, for that matter.
I'm confused with 9 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. Are you saying you're not going to let anybody in the shelter till 9 p.m.?
Correct.
Why not?
Because it's an overnight center, and part of the reason that we chose the 9 o'clock hour is because of the dance studio right next door. They have dance, and I've talked with Pep in Your Step. I talked with her. She doesn't have any problems with it, but we've chosen to do that until 9 o'clock. Oftentimes, number one, this is a provisional use, so it is a limited amount of time for the provisional use only.
And then at 7:30 a.m. you're going to kick them out?
Yeah.
Where are they going to go?
Probably, huh?
Where are they going to go?
Where they're going to go? They will probably go where they go now.
Which is where?
Sometimes they go to the library. Sometimes they go to some of the gas stations. Sometimes they go just walk around downtown. Sometimes they go to different people's houses.
Okay, that seems odd.
It is, but that's the reality. You know, it is. It is odd, but...
Your hours seem odd.
Oh, the hours seem odd. Traditionally, I mean, we've researched a lot of different warming centers. Now, this is different than a shelter in that the shelter is, they're there all the time. This is a warming center. The main purpose of the warming center is so that somebody doesn't freeze to death. We've chosen 9 o'clock because of Pep in Your Step, and also because it gives, mostly for Pep in Your Step. And 7:30 is the 7:30. A lot of them are out of there, and they close their doors by 8 o'clock because it's only a warming center. It's only for sleeping overnight. That's all it's for. It's not like a homeless shelter where they have other provisions for them. It's just for sleeping.
One thing we want to make sure that we're understand after this next winter is we want to make sure that we're not putting an additional stress on our emergency services in the city of Waupaca, in that we become a holding place for everybody in Waupaca County to bring their people here that do not have a place to stay. I mean, this is for the city of Waupaca. It is not to take care of people in other communities. They'll have to come up with a plan for themselves. And again, like I said, we don't want to see an additional cost or additional stress to our police department or costs that we pay for as city residents. And again, Robin has done a lot of research on the times that she's using. She's tried to compromise with the people that are, hold business and that live in that area. You know, when we first had this meeting, and Eric and Alan, you guys can attest to this, we had a year ago, I think it was in February, we had a packed house. And most of them were against it. This time we had nobody here. So Robin has done her due diligence, as well as Brennan, in just making sure that those things were addressed. Again, so we'll see. We'll see. If you agree to this, we'll see what happens, and we can certainly talk about it again next April. I mean, all these things are going to get worked out. They'll get worked out. Okay.
If I could just make
Sure,
a
go ahead,
comment,
Chief.
Mayor, throughout my communications with Ms. Madsen, I expressed my concern primarily about my review of their procedures, and I see that's still a bullet point. Now, I'm not going to be in a position to provide any response to their rules and regulations, their staffing policies, or their volunteer procedures. It's really out of my arena. I mean, I'm here for the public safety aspect of it, and I'm just not in a position to dive that deep into it. And I'd also suggested to her that maybe they need a legal review of their staff procedures and policies. It's really not my position to review their policies and procedures. Now, they're a private entity. I've never done that with any other organization in the city. I don't give legal advice, and I think that's what that statement is saying, that I shall approve the rules and regulations, their staff policies, their volunteer policies and procedures, their guest check-in and check-out.
So you're
I'm
asking
not
that
equipped to respond to that.
Okay. So you're asking that recommendation be strike
Yes.
from that. Brendan, you okay with that? I mean, I think the idea was just to get the chief's comments at the beginning of this.
Yes, I mean, I would agree. Appleton, again, had, when they were going through the warm and shelter, they had their police chief was worked on one of the committees. Robin has set up a committee of advocates here within the community, and again, I was only looking at what Appleton was doing. Yes, I was really just a review. I understand where the chief is coming from on that.
Okay, so again, John, and yeah, if we could just strike number 6, Deb, you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments?
Can I just add one thing?
You can.
You talked about that having a specific date of April of 2016. And John, I think, or Mayor, you also said what happens if we have a really long winter and it has to go through May. Is that going to be a problem, or do we need to stop exactly at the end of May of 2000 or April of 2016?
Well, we're going to start the discussion before your time is up.
Okay.
So we'll have that ability to extend it if we need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We just
Let's
hold on
hope
for one
it's
more
not.
question, if I could.
Yeah.
This did come up out of our staff meeting today. Would we be able to have access to, like, your sign-in log on
Sure.
people who are staying, that we could
Absolutely.
run criminal histories?
Oh, absolutely.
Whatever we needed to
Oh,
do?
yes. Yeah.
Do you ask them what their previous address was when they check in?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd be able to know what jurisdiction they're coming from.
Sure, sure. And one of the things that we're going to look for is to see if they have any active warrants out. So
How are you going to do that?
I think we can get that on CCAP, can't we?
No.
No, okay. We'll have to talk about that, how we could figure that out.
I mean, we can run them.
Yeah, okay.
We just have to-
Because that will be something that's going to be important. If they have active warrants, they can't be in
We
there.
reviewed our processes today, too, that we've done with Salvation Army, and they require that we do a criminal history before they provide any funding for, like, a hotel stay or something like that. So that's why that was just brought up today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions, discussion? Okay, if you vote in favor of this, you are voting in favor of this provisional special use permit with the recommendations that are listed. Sandy will call the roll.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Deb Fensky.
Aye.
And John Lockwood.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you, Sandy. Brennan, thank you. And Robin, good luck. Let's move on to nothing for number 10, but number 11, communications and recommendations of the mayor. Couple things. Henry touched on this, but again, I think it's very important that we make sure that we all understand that our next council meeting will actually be on Wednesday, April 8th, because of the elections on April 7th. So again, mark that on your calendar. Staff, people that like to attend and also watch, don't look for us on April 7th, but look for us on April 8th. And John Lockwood, I know, John, you are stepping down after this term. You are asked to still attend the meeting on April 8th, and the organizational meeting would be on the 21st of April. So if you could still attend that meeting, that would be nice if it works out for you. Just the 8th. Yeah, just the 8th would be great. And then the new person would take over at the beginning of that, on the 21st, yeah.
21st,
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Are you still going?
Well, I have one more item.
Okay, I thought you were done.
Oh, no. That's okay. You can interrupt me, Steve.
I do it all the time.
Yeah. One other thing, Henry did send out an email to council members, so you are all aware of this, as well as staff is, but just to let the public know, John Edelbeck is leaving us at the end of April, and he's going to be taking a new position at a different community in Wisconsin. So Henry is going to, at our next meeting, our April 8th meeting, Henry, and I'll let you touch on that real quick, but so we're going to plan for the future there, and also, you know, in the meantime, John, and this is not meant to be the final thank you, but you've given us many good years, and we're much better because of you here, and we wish you all the luck. We understand why you're moving on, and we wish you didn't, but we hope everything works out good for you. So, Henry, if you want to just touch on.
Well, this is a department head position, so this way it works in our city. It's a mayor's appointment and council ratification. I will bring you a revised job description because the job description's 12 years old, and if you remember, we put facility maintenance up under Public Works Department. There's some small tweaks, nothing too major. And then get your approval on a recruitment budget and a timeline. I think, excuse me, in the best of cases, we're looking at 3.5 to 4 months to fill this position real purposefully, and we'll work very diligently to get some good candidates. Next to finance directors, the directors of public works are the hardest positions to fill in municipal government. So we like the challenge, so we'll work very hard. And I'm leaning on John a little bit. He's going to, you know, maybe identify some potential candidates and some things like that, and I'm going to reach out. So I think sometimes, as what happened to John, a cold call, sometimes is a very effective way to get some candidates. So we'll be working on that. But I do need to get your permission on a couple items, so that'll come next meeting. Excuse me.
Okay, so yeah, plan on committee of the whole meeting on April 8th. We'll probably do it after the regular council meeting on that date. Okay, Steve, you had something
I
you
was just wondering if Brennan would like to make another announcement about the March 23rd to the 27th mobile office for the good of the city.
Sure, I can do that. Again, to everyone, I hope that you can spread the word and help get the information out to come to the mobile office, which is the former Office Outfitters building, 100 North Main Street. Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, with extended hours on Tuesday and Thursday until 7, and then Friday, 8 to 12. All the information and all the documents that East Central Wisconsin Regional Plan Commission and staff here have looked at, and I have to commend Eric for leading that group over the last year and a couple months added on to that. There's been a lot of work, and there's a lot of information that's going to be presented in that temporary office, really trying to get a diverse public input from everybody within the community and even outside the community of what direction we want to go. There's definitely going to be challenges as we move forward. There's 3 alternatives that we're kind of proposing right now for street sections. I'll be sorry not to be butting heads with John as he departs us here, but John has definitely been a great help, and at least on the committee level to get us to where we are today, at least with the conceptual plans.
I'm still a taxpayer in the city, so.
But we're where we're at with the downtown vision committees. We're at a point that we can't get full consensus, so we're hoping to get some more information from the public on the different alternatives that we're proposing, and we may move forward when we to the downtown master plan with 3 concepts. That might be an option, but as we move into the next phases and everything else, there'll be some other parts that are going to be coming together, the parking study and everything else. I think will definitely help identify which direction we go in the future here. But long road ahead yet, but looking forward to this temporary office and hopefully meeting a lot of different people the next week here.
Yeah. Thanks, Brennan. And just to go along with that, we truly do not have a real timeline of when we're going to start this project. John Edelbeck has been talking to the county, and there might be some ability to get some state grant monies too that are available to us to help us with this project too, besides the grants that Brennan talked about. So as we move forward on that, but it is not in any one of our budgets yet, so it's a couple years out yet. But of course, this is something that we needed to get to before we can decide what we need to do next. So,
I mean, we're no problem. I mean, with the downtown master plan, you're looking at 12 to 18 months on that, and you're still looking at probably even a year after that with full design work. So again, it's not in any budgets right now, and we're still looking several years off, but it's going to take some time to get to the next steps here. But I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else have anything for the good of the meeting? Deb?
What? No.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second. Motion, second. You pick, Sandy. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? We are adjourned at 7:47 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
Brian, I will have something next time.
Standard.
I can't hear you.